What are you looking for? Where will your heart's desire take you?
Let's go!
Greetings, everybody. This is JJ Starwind here. Welcome to another Starwind Corner episode 67. Now, this is a requested article or broadcast on behalf of one of my subs, Gaming Geek 11. He is from South Africa, and he requested that I chime in about the South African energy crisis that is occurring once more in the country of South Africa. Now, I managed to pull up two separate articles from Wikipedia. Yeah, I know Wikipedia, but it did a pretty thorough job of kind of explaining why the crisis has been going on for a while. In fact, the energy crisis that South Africa is suffering from goes all the way back to 2007. So this has been a glaring issue for a while. And I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Gaming Geek 11 can help me out with this. There was a severe drought in his home state of Western Cape province. There was a very, very dangerous drought that was happening there, to the point where some of the nearby reservoirs around Cape Town were shrinking so low that it was almost near empty. And that lasted for several months, and I guess they narrowly escape that. I don't know the situation currently, but that is one big reason why South Africa is having these problems as well. There's severe droughts, especially in the western part of the country. And then to top it off, a lot of the infrastructure in South Africa is getting older. There hasn't been enough money to renovate a lot of these facilities. There's a list. I have several graphs, so I may just go by the graphs for the remainder of this message and recording. So I'm just going to read the top paragraph here. So the South African energy crisis is an ongoing period of widespread national blackouts of electric supply. It began in the months of 2007 and continues to the present. The South African government-owned national power utility and primary power generator Eskom and various parliamentarians attributed these rolling blackouts to insufficient generation capacity. So they're having to do what's called load shedding, which is basically a government-controlled or privately controlled electrical loadouts, meaning like they're controlling how long they're having to share the electricity all throughout the grids of a specific city, state, or country. So they're having to manually cut off the power. So there's certain hours within the day that you can have power within your household or business. So it might be 6 hours. Maybe another week it might be 8 hours. Another week it could be 10 hours, so on and so forth, until they can have the electricity go for as long as it can without having to turn it off. So that's basically what you have here. And this next graph here, it kind of shows you what type of minerals power up these power plants. So it's mainly coal. So it looks like South Africa gets a lot of its electricity off coal. It's well over 83%. And this list here is all the different power plants or stations that were built throughout South Africa from 1961 all the way to 2017. So the newest plant, it says, was built in 2017, and it basically handles the highest amount of megawatts for the plant at 4,800, which is a lot. And this right here just talks about load shedding. I kind of detailed that before. And there's a lot more into that article if you want to go to Wikipedia and check out load shedding, also known as rolling blackout. And it describes here mainly what's going on is not just in South Africa, but also Ukraine, because there is still a war going on in Ukraine. And now they're having to do rolling blackouts as well because their power infrastructure is getting attacked constantly by Russian. So yeah, that's why they're having to do that. And so this kind of explains what's going on in developed countries, but it's also a problem in high developed countries like the United States. And it kind of highlights that. For example, what happened in 2001 with the California crisis, what's going on, what happened in Texas back in 2021, back when they had that nasty winter storm. And also in late December, in certain parts of the eastern United States, they had blackouts. So it's not just a developing country problem. It's also a high developed country problem. Some people want to say first world, third world. I mean, you can still use those terms unless we get back into a nuclear war situation, which might be around the corner. But yeah, I like to say developing countries or highly developed countries that are already industrialized, like the U.S. But yeah, even in countries like that, it's always a problem when you have nature attacking your source of power. And this talks about what the effects are and also the scheduling when it comes to load shedding. You can look more into that if you want, based on the South Africa energy crisis article and the rolling blackouts. And this is a graph here. This is explaining what Eskom Power has had to deal with over the past month of June of last year. And as you can see, they happen to use load shedding like mainly in the daytime. It seems like for like a good 18 hours of the day, they're doing load shedding. So they're having to manually cut off the power in some areas of the country around certain times of the day. And you can normally see like much of their electricity is all coal, as we saw in another graph. And this talks about the particular stages. And all the stages means is how long will the power be cut off. So like I said, it's 6 hours, maybe one day, 8 hours another day, 10 hours the next day, so on and so forth. And it kind of shows you by year how much that they had to do based on the stage. So now, I believe at this point in time, based on this current crisis, it's at stage 6, and it could go to stage 7. So that means it might be, your power in South Africa could be off for a good 12 hours or more. So you might be walking around with no power in your house, and whenever the power does cut back on, that's probably the only time you have to get on your laptop, to get online. You have to cook your food with your stove or whatever, if it's electric, or you're having to watch television, or basically you need to plug your cell phone and charge it up. So like you only have like a set time to really use the electricity before it mainly goes off again. And yeah, here's the list that shows you how many days that you have to go without power. And this is for Cape Town in particular, this graph there. And so let's check out the economic effects here right quick. The energy crisis has significantly limited economic growth in South Africa, thereby preventing the country from resolving high rates of unemployment. So that's a problem as well. So because they're having to do all this load shedding stuff, so it's obviously because of the power cuts and everything, these power plants really can't keep people employed and stuff, so they're having to lay them off. And because of that, more people are staying at home without power, and they don't really have anything else to do. And then they might get into some stuff that they have no business doing. So that's why crime is going up in South Africa too. So it's a lot of issues going on with that. The power shortage is estimated to have a reduced economic growth in 2021 by 3%, thereby costing the country an estimated 350,000 potential new jobs for that year alone. See? In 2022, the insurance company Sanlam, I hope I said that right, reported that the cost of replacing appliances due to power surges following the load shedding periods had exceeded the cost of replacing appliances due to burglaries. In 2022, the business analyst firm Indel Lidex, I think that's what it says, estimated that it would cost South Africa 500 billion rand, or in American money is $28 billion, to resolve the energy crisis within 3 years. That is a lot of money. And I was watching the news story from Al Jazeera, and it kind of shows you how bad it is right now. So they was interviewing one guy in the middle who lived in, I think the city was called Port Elizabeth, but they changed the name into a more African sounding name now. So I can't really pronounce it. But the guy was having to do the live stream on his cell phone. And then by the end of the talk, which lasted for almost 30 minutes, like they ended up losing the guy because there was a blackout, and I think he was using the connection to get online for that special stream, and then they cut it off. So even if his phone wasn't completely charged, I guess he lost internet connection and he wasn't able to continue to stream. So they lost him during the broadcast. So it was bad. So I was like, wow. So it's very serious right now in South Africa. So I'm not sure how long it's gonna last. Hopefully the government can figure this out, if at all, because I'm also hearing there's a lot of corruption going on within the power plants themselves, as far as embezzling money, and part of the reasons why they had to lay people off for having to do all these rolling blackouts. So it's a lot going on in that country right now. And I know this is kind of off topic too, but he was kind of telling me, Gaming Geek was telling me about what was going on with some of these musicians getting shot to death just by going out, reaching out to friends and stuff, having parties, and they're over here getting killed. But so that kind of shows you just how desperate a lot of people are in that country right now. So you have to be very careful when you're talking about traveling to South Africa. Just understand that they're having to deal with energy crisis right now, with having to cut off the electricity at certain hours of the day. And a lot of people are just walking around the streets not having anything to do, because if they work at a power plant or somewhere similar that has to do with electricity, they can't work right now. They just don't have the money or enough people with the specific skill set to keep the power plants on. So it's pretty rough out there right now. So that's all I got. That's kind of my opinion mixed in with what I saw based on the article in that video. Let me know what you think about the crisis, if there's anything else I left out, any information that was kind of important as well. And I'll catch you all on the next episode. That is it. See you later.